Welcome friends, welcome back to the hangar. So are you going to Oshkosh? I hope you're going to Oshkosh, and if you're going to be there, I'll be there. Take a look for me, find me, stop me, say hello. I'd love to speak with you. So I was out here yesterday prepping the plane. I had everything laid out on, on the hangar floor, one by one, put it on the scale, weighed everything, and then started packing it in and doing my weight and balance. Very important because I'm taking a fair amount of stuff, although I think I've still got some space. I have to go through it on ForeFlight, and I'll put that up on the screen and show you how you go through your weight and balance on ForeFlight. Then I started looking at my paperwork, because you have to have your paperwork in order to cross the border. And so I'll be crossing from Canada to the United States. We'll talk about my flight plan a little bit later in the video. I get partway through and I realize on the day that I'm going to be flying back from Oshkosh, my medical expires. And it was just, I had that moment of, oh no, I'm less than a week away from going to Oshkosh and I have to get my medical renewed. Am I going to have time? And I panicked. Went home, it was like 2 o'clock, went home, started phoning around, realized that because of COVID, Transport Canada changed the rules regarding your medical. And so now you can do your medical through something in Ontario that's called telehealth. And so I call one of the medical examiners, spent 40 minutes on the phone with him, going through all of the questions, and by 3:30 I had the medical document. I'm fit to fly. Panic, but really happy that, you know, I now live in 2023 where that sort of thing is possible, and I didn't have to make an appointment to see a doctor later in the week and maybe encounter some troubles along the way. Who knows what could have happened. So fit to fly. So all of my documents are up to date. All of the documents for the plane are up to date. Let's talk about my flight plan. Now, I've got a whole bunch of possibilities for flight planning to get to Oshkosh. I could fly out of here, Oshawa, and pretty much almost on runway heading straight to Oshkosh. I'd have to get up fairly high because I would be flying over 2 Great Lakes, first Lake Huron and then Lake Michigan. I'd have to fly, I think, to Appleton, Wisconsin, which is 1 airport over from Oshkosh, in order to clear customs. But it would be right at the edge of my fuel consumption. I wouldn't have any reserve, so I would have to stop somewhere before I got there. And the most obvious choice is to stop somewhere on the Canadian side of the border so that I could get high enough again to get over Lake Huron. I'm just not going to do that this time. It just seems too cutting it close to get there. So I've got 2 other more viable options. One of them is to go the way that most of the pilots I've spoken to that fly from this area fly this route. You fly south, you cross the border at Windsor, Detroit. And when I say cross the border, of course, you're flying across the border, but you're also stopping on the American side to get through customs and immigration. Common misconception is that you have to stop at the first airport as you enter the United States, or the first international airport as you enter the United States. You don't have to. If you can fly all the way to your end destination, and the end destination is an international airport, you can just go all the way there. You don't have to stop at the first airport. I kind of always like to stop at the first airport because then that gives me all kinds of options if something goes wrong along the way. I can stop anywhere if I need fuel, or if I'm weathered in or something like that. Like what happened to me in Elliott Lake, you can just divert. You don't have to worry about, oh, am I diverting someplace that I can clear customs? So I always clear customs pretty early on in the journey. And then from Detroit, you fly south of Lake Michigan, around Chicago, and then north to Oshkosh. Pretty good trip. Not too long, but of course it is much more congested airspace, and could be a little bit more difficult. I've chosen to go northwest and fly to Sault Ste. Marie from here. Fly to Sault Ste. Marie, cross the border at Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, not Sault Ste. Marie, Canada, and then fly south to Oshkosh. It is about an hour and a half less flight time, so it is a shorter route. Even though I'm going north, it kind of looks weird because it looks like I'm going out of my way, but it is actually a shorter route. So that's what I'm planning. As of this morning, looking at the fire map, The fires that had been burning around Elliott Lake are extinguished. They're out, they're under control, or they're out. So there won't be as much smoke along that coastline and over Manitoulin Island. So I shouldn't run into any problems there. Cross at Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and then fly south. That's my thought. But you know, flying VFR, you have to keep all your options open. And if something goes wrong, you have to have contingencies. So I've built in a lot of contingencies. I've built in a couple of different flight plans. We'll see what happens. You can ask me when we get there, or you can follow me through the ADSB. Now, if you're going to be at Oshkosh, Mike Victor uniform will be on display at the Dynon tent or Dynon booth for the entire week. So you can stop by, look at the plane. I'll be hanging around quite a bit during the week at the aircraft. So if you want to say hello, please do. Another option is on the Monday of the show, Dan from Taking Off has put together a Q&A and meet and greet session for YouTube aviators. And if you're there, please come by, say hello. I'd love to meet you. Like I said before, I would love to meet you. And so I think I'm ready to go. So over the next day, I'm just going to be eyeballing the weather constantly to make sure that my path is clear, and from that decide which way I'm going to fly. Can't wait to meet you at Oshkosh. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.